welcome to another episode of Behind the YouTube Stars. Today we're shadowing Dr. Jackson Crawford to see how he makes his videos. Currently he is talking into a camera on a tripod right in the center of your screen here. He's very small, but you can see him, and if you listen carefully, you may hear echoes of his dulcet tones. Now, he often chooses remote mountain valleys like this in which to do his filming. As you can see, it's a lovely and very isolated place up here today. And I'm sure you, the fans, will enjoy this video when he posts it. From southwestern Colorado, I'm Dr. Luke Gorton of Word Safari, and this is Behind the YouTube Stars, shadowing Dr. Jackson Crawford.
Hi, I'm Old Norse Specialist Jackson Crawford. For the past 5 years, I've been making videos on YouTube about my academic specialty, Old Norse language, myth, sagas, runes, etc. And from time to time, my Patreon supporters ask how exactly I make them. I made a video about that for Patreon about 3 years ago, but I thought that it might also make an interesting subject for the YouTube channel itself, as perhaps there are other people out there wanting to do something similar to what I do on this channel for their own subjects, and thinking that it must take a lot of people, a lot of technical proficiency, when in fact, I do all of this myself, from the research stage to the filming to the editing. It is all done on one piece of equipment, my phone, which I have an iPhone XR as of September 2021. You might have a pretty different phone, but very likely if you have a smartphone, you can do anything I do. And I do all of the editing myself and do all of that on my phone. So it really is within reach of a lot of people to do something similar to what I do. Here is a quick walkthrough of my process. To begin with, of course, I have to have a topic to talk about. Now, I'm going to make a separate Patreon post with a little bit more about what goes into the research for particular topics, as that really isn't what this video is about. This video is more about the part of the process after that. But I'll go ahead and say that, in a sense, the research for these videos has been going on since I was in, say, high school, back when I first got interested in linguistics and started to get interested in the Old Norse language and the literature in it in particular. Then I pursued my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees, finishing my doctorate in Scandinavian studies, focusing on Old Norse at the University of Wisconsin. And I taught for many years at several different universities, including 3 years at UCLA, 2 years at the University of California, Berkeley, and 3 years at the University of Colorado, Boulder. So all of that together adds up to a lot of professional knowledge in my subject and a lot of knowledge about where to track information down in that subject, which of course is much of the battle. It means that I have some pretty hard to find books, and it means that because of my teaching experience, I have spent a lot of time thinking about how to talk to people about the subjects that I teach. But for more on all of that process, see the Patreon post that I'm putting up on Patreon in conjunction with this video. As far as deciding what I'm going to talk about, I try to make kind of a balance between videos that I think will do pretty well with a wider public, right? Videos that address topics that are particularly interesting to a lot of people outside of academia, outside of maybe the large circle of people who are interested in Old Norse stuff. Subjects like Loki or runes or Vikings, right? Words like that tend to make me think that the title of a video is going to attract more attention than my average video. Although I'm not always right about that, and sometimes the videos that do well really surprise me. But I try to strike some kind of balance between that kind of video and videos that offer specific, difficult to find information that, in a sense, it sometimes seems like only I am providing to the public. Things like difficult Old Norse language questions, or how the runes are actually used in writing Old Norse, or examining some particularly obscure saga or poem about the gods or something like that. Most typically, I will have some kind of bullet point notes, possibly in a physical journal like this one that my brother gave me, or just on an index card or something like that. Extremely seldom I might actually have a script that I read off, although that's typically only applicable to videos where I've written something out for my own purposes and then decided, hey, why not share this for an audience too? In general, I want to look at the camera while I'm talking, just like in a classroom. I didn't want to read off of notes. I wanted to look at my students, because I always felt as a student that a professor who did nothing but read from a notepad back then, or probably a laptop today, didn't really know the material, and so why does he expect me to know the material? Now, having gotten some notes together for a video, often one or two on a given day, seldom more than that, of course I need to go and actually make it. Now, this is the fun part for me. I want to get to a place that's beautiful so that you have something to look at other than me and some walls. And that also gives me a nice excuse to go up into the mountains where I really like to be. Now, I'm somewhat hesitant to reveal the exact locations of some of my favorite filming spots, although people from Colorado and Wyoming will probably recognize several of them. But in general, I like to get at least half a mile from a road. Now in 2021, I have not always been able to do that because of a broken toe that's given me a lot of trouble, so I've often been closer to a road than I otherwise would like to be, or used to be, especially in 2019-20. But my toe's getting better with some wider footwear, so I'm getting back to some of those more remote locations now. Now, of course, some of these locations really are pretty remote, especially in Wyoming, and require some driving down some pretty long, difficult roads. But that's part of the joy of it for me. Now, once I find a good location, I'm going to hope that I'm far enough from anyone else that I'm not going to get someone or someone's dog in the background, or people screaming or laughing or dogs barking. So I'm going to try to get away from people. Sometimes, of course, you might see a car in the distant background if there's a road somewhere around. Maybe a hiker will walk by in the distant background. That kind of thing doesn't necessarily bother me, but I try not even to have that. And I try to make sure that there's enough space on the screen that you can really take in the view, and that I can use some of that space to share perhaps some text or a useful photographic illustration of an artifact or something, so that you can see what I'm talking about and it's not just an audio presentation. I'll set up my tripod. I've had a couple tripods. At present, I'm using a Manfrotto that has a couple broken pieces but still works pretty well. The one thing the Manfrotto does not have that some other tripods that I've had did possess that was useful is a level, but I can usually more or less figure out where level is. And it has a special attachment for holding my iPhone. So I put the iPhone on it, I go to settings, and I put it in airplane mode because sometimes I'm in it seems like on the border of cell reception I get some weird audio distortion if I'm not in airplane mode, as the phone searches for a cell signal or something. I don't really know what causes it, but airplane mode helps deflect that weird interference sound. Then I plug in my microphone. I use a Rode microphone. This is by far the best microphone that I've ever had. It has an app on the phone that controls its volume, and I think it's better sound quality than other microphones that I've used. Of course, actually, for recording this video you're listening to right this moment, I'm using AirPods with my phone, so it probably has a different sound quality than my usual videos do. Probably not quite as good. Now, having put on my microphone, having positioned myself in front of the camera, and having probably whatever index card or notepad I have my bullet points on to hand, I begin my recording. I try to remember to leave space to insert a word from my sponsor, Grimfrost. But if I forget about it, I also have a little screen that I can put up to announce that a ad is coming with a joke that's probably funny only to me, and then a screen that follows that lets you know that we're going back to my regular video and reminds you about a discount code you can use with them so they can actually see that people are, watching the ads on my channel and continue to pay me. And then, having wrapped up, I generally fumble toward the end of the video, right? And people stop watching. But if they continue watching, I will generally wish them all the best and tip my hat if I'm wearing it or have it to hand. And then typically I will step out of the frame, pull the microphone out of the phone, and just let the phone record whatever my background is. The idea here is that I then have some B-roll that I can use to intro the video or as an outro where I can show an end screen for people watching it on YouTube. And sometimes also these are such beautiful places that I just like having a video of a creek flowing through the mountains or something like that. Some of which videos I've even experimented with posting on YouTube. Now, I go back the way that I came, and the process of editing begins. I edit my videos in an app on my phone called Video Shop Editor. I believe there is a free version that leaves a watermark, but I pay for the pro version, which, as I'm speaking at least in September 2021, I bought, I think in 2018 or 19 for a one-time price that was plenty reasonable for the fact that I now make my living off of videos that I edit with this app. In that app, I can put together whatever video clips that I like. I can record voiceovers, like what I'm doing right this moment. I can split and trim videos. I can add text. I can add pictures. I can do Ken Burns effects with pictures. There's just an enormous amount that I can do, and the functionality of this app has only increased over time and gotten better. Of course, this app is a minority choice as far as video editing goes. It's not, iMovie or something like that. So should this app ever disappear, I will be in a lot of trouble because this is the only way I really know how to edit videos. But for right now, it is working out just fine for me. At the point that I'm done with the video, which, often editing can actually be the longest part, I want to make sure, although I'm not an audiophile by any means, and you can tell, I try to make sure that the volume is reasonably balanced between clips. I try to make sure that I haven't said anything that will be, distracting or annoying to someone. Right. I don't have a perfect sense for this, but I have a little bit of a sense for just off-topic things that I ought not to say that end up distracting people from the main point of my discussion, right? Anytime you come anywhere close to politics or religion or conspiracy theory, and it's not the main focus of what you're talking about, if you say just one thing about, or freaking tattoos, that's going to be the thing people talk about in the comments. They're not going to talk about the main point of the video. So I try to, kind of trim around anywhere that I might have said something like that if I did. Of course, if I happen to be, say, with family or friends, then I also have to coordinate with them about what they think about the video, right? So for example, in the videos that I made with Liv Gordon, both the Alphabet series, which of course focused on our own academic backgrounds, and then our joke video with my cousin and sister, I want to make sure that anyone who's in the video likes it and is okay with what the public is going to see and isn't going to be embarrassed by anything and doesn't feel like there needs to be something redone. I will save the video in 1080p and then I upload it to my Vimeo channel. Now, just about no one ever visits the Vimeo channel, so I usually don't even make the uploads there public, but at least it gives me some kind of a backup, and uploading from my mobile phone to Vimeo works for some reason much better than uploading to YouTube directly. Then, having uploaded it to Vimeo, I download it on my computer, giving me a hard copy, and then I upload that as an MP4 to YouTube. Then it's pretty easy stuff. I give it a title, a description, copy all the stuff no one reads about, the musical talents of my good friends I.C. Hawks in LA and where to find my books and things like that into the video description. Make some kind of thumbnail. I've gone back and forth about what thumbnails ought to look like. I generally get the impression that people see in me in the thumbnail is probably not the most appealing thing. So I've tried to make slightly more descriptive thumbnails with the cover of a book that's related to the subject, or some runes if I'm talking about runes, or even just a landscape, and add it to a playlist. I don't know if that actually does anything, but YouTube claims that it's more likely to recommend videos that are in playlists to people watching other videos in that playlist. And then I can add an end screen, which I'm not sure that everyone on YouTube sees, and I add cards, which link to other videos, which again, I'm not sure that everyone on YouTube sees. And then I schedule a video, again, trying to keep something of a balance between the ones that I think will have fairly wide popular appeal and the ones that I think will be more interesting just to a subset of people who are really serious about this subject. And of course, sometimes also I do weird other videos that aren't even related to Old Norse, and I try to balance those out, space them out a little bit too. If I had a wild animal guest in a video, I'm going to be real excited to share it with you, and I'm going to try to post those pretty fast, but otherwise I can be fairly patient, and I've even been known to schedule videos out a couple months after they were made. Again, the main thing I'm going for is some reasonable balance between material so that I'm not glutting my YouTube channel with stuff about the same subject again and again and again. And having done that, it's now my assistant Stella's province. Once the video actually posts on YouTube, it's Stella who monitors the comments, tries to make sure that it's a welcoming place, that people aren't just going off on flame wars with one another in the comments and saying things that could make someone not want to come back. People do tend to associate, fairly or not, the kind of comments on a channel with the creator of that channel. So we just try to keep that pretty clean. And then if I have something special that I want to say about it, as from time to time I do, or some kind of special extra, like I do with the runes for any new vocabulary I've introduced in my Old Norse lessons, I will post that on Patreon. But for the most part, my engagement with the video is kind of done once it's actually public.